What is going on, everyone? This is JABO, your pit stop quick one-stop shop for all things NASCAR and other sports that are just a bit outside. I'm your host, Brendan Bryan, and let's get started. It's championship time, everyone. Who's going to rise to the occasion and who's going to crumble under the pressure? Let's begin. Well, first, actually, last week I did not have time to upload a video for the Homestead race. I completely apologize, but I am currently taking a class that I can only describe as trench warfare on the Western Front in World War I. Nobody's winning this class. We're all going over the top, and it's completely unnecessary. Dilly dilly. So instead of concentrating on that, let's concentrate on what we have in hand. Let's briefly go over what happened last weekend at Homestead for a special JABO double feature. In the Truck Series, the 9 of Grand Am figure, my boy, he had the best car all day long, but after the 19 of Christian Eckes door slammed him, just out of nowhere, on the restart, the 9's day was seemingly over until a bold fuel strategy put the Knight back out up front, and he was able to stretch it like Joey Logano for his second win of the year and second in a row. Booyah! That meant that no new drivers locked themselves into the championship four, but the playoff picture is quite clear entering Martinsville with everyone below being the 17 of Taylor Gray, the 2 of Nick Sanchez, the 18 of Tyler Ankrum, and the 71 of Roger Carruth, all needing a win to advance. In the Xfinity Series, the outside lane was supposed to be the preferred lane, but it was the 21 of Austin Hill running the inside that was the fastest car all day long. However, he would need to overcome the 00 of Cole Custer late to win the race. Custer forced Hill to run different lanes, but the 21 was way too fast as he would pass the 00 to win his fourth race of the year, and shockingly not on a super speedway. This win was crucial for Hill as Martinsville has been his kryptonite in years past, but he doesn't have to worry about it now as he punches his ticket to Phoenix. Similar to the Truck Series, those below the cut line being the 81 of Chandler Smith, the 2 of Jesse Love, the 1 of Sam Mayer, and the 8 of Sammy Smith need a win at the paperclip to advance. The Cup Series race at Homestead was an instant classic. The 5 of Kyle Larson would have trouble early but would rally late. The 11 of Denny Hamlin and the 12 of Ryan Blaney had the fastest long-run cars, while driver like the 9 of Chase Elliott and the 45 of Tyler Reddick led a lot of laps but would fade during the runs. However, late, Reddick stayed out long to try and get lucky with a caution, and he did, when Larson attempted to pass Blaney for the de facto lead and spun on his outside. This meant that Reddick on slightly older tires would be in the top 4 on the final restart. Hamlin initially took the lead, but Blaney fought back and snatched it from Hamlin, and out of nowhere Reddick blew by the 11, and in the final turn of the race, Reddick sent it on the outside of Blaney and passed him for the win to advance to Phoenix. I don't know what Blaney was thinking of giving the 45 the outside, but that mistake leaves him in a must-win situation entering Martinsville. Elliott is also in a must-win situation, while Larson's troubles put him below, with Hamlin also mathematically in range to strike at Martinsville, as the 24 William Byron holds a slim 7-point advantage. For the 20 of Christopher Bell, he needs a good point stay, and he'll advance to Phoenix easily. And in Haley LaJoy Round 5, Haley strikes back with an impressive 34th place run to LaJoy's 35th. All right. Woo! They scuttle into Martinsville where Haley can lock up the series by beating LaJoy at the paperclip, where he has the best finish of the two with 2 18th place finishes. Yeah! It's the Battle of Titans, y'all. With that recap, though, out of the way, let's look at what happened at Martinsville this past weekend. The Truck Series race on Friday night was very straightforward, until the very end. Essentially, the 19 of Christian Eckes dominated the race and won both stages. Eckes continued to dominate in the final stage. However, with around 40-ish laps to go, a caution came out, and the back half of the field pitted, giving them a tire advantage. This included playoff drivers, the 18 of Tyler Ankrum and the 17 of Taylor Gray, who both needed to win to advance to Phoenix. These two began to cut their way through the field, but Eckes continued to lead out front of the 2 of Nick Sanchez, who also needed a win to advance. However, he had effectively nothing for the 19. Then a couple of cautions came out towards the end of the race to allow the 17 of Gray to make his way all the way out to second with fresh tires. Then on the final restart, Sanchez fell short of Eckes' bumper, but the 17 on fresh tires powered around the outside lane to clear Eckes in 2. But then in turn 3, Eckes shipped the 17 in turn 3, taking him out of the race, even though Eckes did not need to win the race to advance. Then even more surprising, he did it again, when the 99 of Ben Rhodes also passed Eckes on fresh tires the following lap, and Eckes did the same thing, setting the 99 in turn 3 and taking the win, his 4th Quattro on the season. There is a lot to unpack here with Eckes, but I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger as we will discuss more during the championship preview later this week. With Eckes' win, that means the 17 of Gray, the 18 of Ankrum, the 2 of Sanchez, and the 71 of Roger Carruth, who just had troubles all night and he was just the whole day, are eliminated from the playoffs. That means your championship 4 is set with the 19 of Christian Eckes, the 11 of Corey Heim, the 98 of Ty Majeski, and your future champ, the 9 of Grant Enfinger, who finished 9th at Martinsville, by the way. Numbergami there. We will discuss more later this week on the championship preview. Similar to the truck race, the Xfinity event was dominated by one driver, being former Cup Series driver the 20 of Eric Almirola. For the playoff drivers, it was simple. Those below needed to win, and those above needed to stop them from winning. The 81 of Chandler Smith, however, who was below, was one of the top dogs all day long. Top 2 car easily. On the other hand, the 2 of Sheldon Creed could never break into the top 5, while the 1 of Sam Mayer would never get a chance as a stack up on a restart caused serious damage to his car, and that would be kaput for him. DNF. This was a caution-filled race with drivers like the 18 of Sheldon Creed and the 28 of Ryan Sieg being involved in multiple accidents. The 00 of Cole Custer and the 7 of Justin Allgaier, who were above the cut line entering the race, earned a lot of stage points and were well inside the top 5 all race long. Then Smith made his way to Custer and passed him with a bump and run. Then a caution came out, and on the restart, Custer decided to, for one, line up behind Smith on the outside lane, which was odd, but then ship him into turn 1, taking them both out of contention. Again, we'll talk more about this during the championship preview later this week, but drama! On the final restart, out of all the drivers to be in position to win in advance, the 8 of Sammy Smith, who was almost 100 points below the cut line, made his way to second after the Custer-Smith incident. He made a valiant effort to get to Almirola, but to Custer's relief, he did not have enough and would come up short of Almirola's bumper, as Almirola would score his 3rd win of the year in a part-time ride with JGR. Funny enough, Sammy Smith only had a chance at the win because of Custer, and if he won, Custer would have been eliminated from the playoffs. It just kind of makes you think about Custer's decision-making process. Again, we'll talk more about that later. With Almirola stealing the show, that means the 8 of Sammy Smith, the 81 of Chandler Smith, not related, the 1 of Sam Mayer, the 2 of Sheldon Creed are eliminated from the playoffs, leaving only 4 to fight for the championship at Phoenix. The 00 of Cole Custer, the 7 of Justin Allgaier, the 21 of Austin Hill, and the 16 of A.J. Allmendinger. The Cup race was the last shot for many and the final nail for others. The 11 of Denny Hamlin started in last, taking him out of any shot of pointing his way in and needed a win to advance. And he would end up actually making his way towards the top 10 by the end of Stage 2. Hendrick cars led early with the 9 of Chase Elliott needing a win, winning Stage 1, and the 24 William Byron and the 5 of Kyle Larson scoring valuable stage points, while the 20 of Christopher Bell, who was above the cut line entering the race, did not. In Stage 2, strategy brought drivers like Bell, Hamlin, and the 12 of Ryan Blaney to the front, but also non-playoff cars like the 6 of Brad Keselowski will go on to win Stage 2, while Bell stemmed the points bleed, but still lost a couple of points to both Larson and Byron. Also, on cue, Elliott's pit crew made a boom-boom, per usual, and he fell straight through the back of the pack. Keselowski and Blaney would duel for the lead in the final stage, with Brad having the upper hand until green flag pit stops. However, it was Elliott, way in the back, who would pit way early to gain positions on new tires. He would need a caution for the strategy to work after the pit cycle. William Byron would actually end up jumping both Keselowski and Blaney during the pit cycle and was hunting down the 9. He was tenths faster and would catch him any lap. However, that lucky caution came and gave Elliott new life, as he and others would pit for tires while Larson and Blaney would both stay out. By this point as well, The 20 of Christopher Bell was trapped a lap down after spinning and struggling all day long and needed Byron to lose spots to advance. On the final restart of the race, Larson took off, but Elliott on fresh tires began to hunt him down. However, less than 50 laps to go, a monster emerged in the 12 car of Ryan Blaney, who was 3.5 seconds back of the leaders with traffic in between, mind you, but he began to take chunks off the leaders. Chunks and chunks and chunks. And within laps, he was less than a second behind Elliott and Larson. All three of these drivers needed to win and to advance, and the first to move was Elliott. He passed Larson with a bump and run. Then Blaney got around Larson with a bump and run. After they traded some paint, Larson began to drop back like a rock on old tires. The battle was between Elliott and Blaney, but something had possessed the 12 just like last year, as he just blew the doors off the 9 and ran away to win the race and advance to defend his championship. However, the drama was only beginning, as Byron was falling through the field on old tires and needed a 6th place finish or better to beat Bell on points. The 3 of Austin Dillon and the 1 of Ross Chastain caught William Byron, both Chevy teammates, and they stacked up behind the 24, not attempting to pass him. Suspicious. Then the 23 of Bubba Wallace, a Toyota teammate to Bell, who went a lap down earlier, suddenly slowed on the last lap of the race, allowing the 20 to catch him in turn 3. Also peculiar. However, to make the pass, Bell slid into the wall and gassed it up like Ross Chastain in 2022, a wall ride, which in NASCAR rulebooks, especially in Martinsville, is a no-no because of a gate on the outside of the wall which has the potential to break if ridden against. So it's a safety concern for the fans, the drivers, just everybody. So instead of Bell advancing on points, he would be penalized by NASCAR for essentially unsafe driving and was eliminated from the playoffs, giving Byron the final spot. The 2 most consistent drivers in the playoffs went head-to-head this weekend, and Bell blinked first, similar to Kevin Harvick in 2020. You can never stop pushing, or the field will push back. Bell just needed a quiet top 15 day with just some stage points, and he couldn't deliver, like he has for the last 2 years with his just unbelievable clutch performances. It's a heartbreaking season, but it was easily avoidable. And now he can only ask himself, what if, until the start of next season. That means after 3 rounds and 9 races, the Final 4 is set with an odd assortment of drivers, which I will delve into more during the midweek championship preview. But in short, the 22 of Joey Logano, the 45 of Tyler Reddick, the regular season champion, the 12 of Ryan Blaney, and the 24 of William Byron will be advancing to Phoenix. That means the ride or die 5 of Kyle Larson was eliminated, along with the consistent 9 and 20 of Chase Elliott and Christopher Bell, and finally the number 11 of Denny Hamlin, who comes up short in what may be his last great shot at a title. Sad Dennis continues for another season, and they may have to look to shake things up as the rest of the field is starting to leave them behind. But with Sad Dennis, that means the universe is in order. And sadly, after 6 races of thrilling back and forth racing, the Haley LaJoie driver swap has concluded, with Haley clinching the series 1 week in advance after a stout 29th place finish, compared to LaJoie's admirable 35th place finish. Honestly, I don't know if either driver is honestly performing better or worse than the other. We'll know more next year, but until then, they both equally stink, especially in the back of the pack together, where they seemingly belong. In other news from NASCAR, Xfinity driver Justin Allgaier has signed an extension with JR Motorsports through the 2026 season. Allgaier's primary sponsor, Brandt, also signed a 2-year extension and will be the primary sponsor of the 7 car for 20 races each season. The 38-year-old Allgaier is in the midst of his 14th attempt to win the Xfinity Series championship. He is currently in the hypothetical prime of his career, which in NASCAR is usually 35 to 40-ish. Time is seemingly running out for Allgaier to reach the pinnacle of the Xfinity Series, but at least for the next 2 seasons, he'll be driving some of the best equipment in the garage. In some less than happy news, Truck Series team Brent Holmes Racing has shut its doors down effective immediately. After a 9th place finish at Talladega Superspeedway only a few weeks ago, the team announced it's shutting down and will not run the rest of the season. which was evident since they did not race at Miami a couple weeks ago. The team's crowning achievement was the 2020 championship in the ARCA Series with driver Brett Holmes. The team made the move to the Truck Series and ran a part-time schedule before going full-time last year, and seemingly this. Last year, the team finished 27th in the standings and was 18th in the standings this year before the team closed. The team's best finish was a third at Talladega in 2022. Brett Holmes hopes to be racing in 2025, but it will not be under his own roof. Chris Hediger buys essentially everything that was Brett Holmes Racing, from cars to parts, and began racing this weekend at Martinsville with Brett Moffitt driving the Ford truck. The team plans to run the full 2025 season, but it's uncertain who the full driver of the car will be. Caden Honeycutt will go full-time racing in the Truck Series in 2025 with Nice Motorsports, after many impressive performances with the team in 2024. These finishes include 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s, and only 12 starts. He will also be joined by Matt Mills, who will be returning to Nice Motorsports full-time in 2025 in the 42 truck. Nice Motorsports is shaping up as a contender in 2025. The Xfinity driver Brendan Poole will be returning full-time to Alpha Prime Racing in the 44 car for 2025. The season has been statistically the best for the team ever, and they seek to improve into playoff contenders going forward. And finally, NASCAR has handed down hefty penalties to Cup drivers, the 23 of Bubba Wallace, the 3 of Austin Dillon, and the 1 of Ross Chastain, for not fulfilling NASCAR's 100% rule, which is put in place to prevent race manipulation, which is what is determined to have happened this past Sunday. Remember what I said? Suspicious and peculiar? Yeah, they do bad. After days of deliberation following the Martinsville race, NASCAR handed down unprecedented fines to all 3 of these drivers and their respective owners for $100,000 each, a total of $600,000. Further, each driver was penalized 50 driver points, and each owner was penalized 50 owner's points. Finally, the crew chief, spotters, and team executives, which has never happened before, from all 3 of these teams will be suspended from this weekend's race at Phoenix. Wallace's team, 2311 Racing, has declined to appeal the penalty. Guilty. In contrast, Chastain's team, Trackhouse Racing, and Dillon's team, RCR, will appeal the penalty and have separate hearings slated for tomorrow on Thursday. Also guilty. RCR and Austin Dillon cannot stay out of the controversy spotlight this year. Just bless their heart. Bless your heart, Richard. Looking ahead to this weekend, all 3 NASCAR series will race at Phoenix for a championship. We will cover the contenders on a special midweek championship preview of JABO, so look out for that this week. Now looking at the rest of the sports world, the baseball season comes to an end in dramatic fashion with a spectacular 5-game series between the LA Dodgers and the New York Yankees. LA would win the first 3 games in close matchups with a grand slam walk-off to win Game 1 in extra innings, before the Yankees blew their doors off in Game 4 to only lose in Game 5 after being up by 5 runs in the 5th inning, where the Dodgers would score, guess what, 5 runs. Freddie Freeman wins MVP because, well, duh, he hit the grand slam to win the game. The Dodgers finally get that monkey off their back and are essentially already geared up for another go-around in 2025. Congrats to the World Series champions, LA Dodgers. Also, I thought that Troy University football would win Embarrassment of the Week, but I was shocked, as that accolade instead goes to the 2 Yankees fans in Game 4 who tried, for a lack of better wording, attempted to rip Dodgers player Mookie Betts' arm off. Congratulations, gentlemen. You make me feel better about Trojan football, and that's hard to do. Wow, they suck. And so do you, Yankees fans. In the NBA, Bronny James scored his first points against the Cleveland Cavaliers, meaning that he is now more successful than me at basketball. I know that we're all shocked by this revelation. Trust me, I as well. Totally shocked. In the world of hockey, the Boston Bruins just suck. And that sucks. But Utah looks good early. It's crazy that team good if ownership good. Eat your heart out, Arizona. And take note, San Jose, you little rascals. In the world of college football, Auburn's kicker is named Mr. Magoo. And that's all you need to know about that. Getting into the games that happened this past weekend, 7 ranked teams lost, starting with a record 111,000 Penn State fans watching their team's yearly self-sacrifice to Ohio State to give the Buckeyes their only quality win of the season, as is tradition. Georgia trudges through the swamp for an ugly win against Florida. Florida State still sucks. Miami wins in another shootout against Duke of all teams. SMU quashes Pitt. Texas A&M falls as quickly as they rise with a loss to South Carolina. Ranked Iowa State, Clemson, Kansas State, and Illinois were also upset. Vanderbilt beat Auburn and become bowl eligible for the first time since 2018. And this week on the Troy Trojan misery train, they won? Wait, that's not right according to the script. No. Oh my goodness. No, it's true. They won. They won. We're not the worst. We're not the worst. Oregon remains number 1 while Ohio State moves up to number 3. Miami to 4. Penn State falls number 6. Indiana is undefeated at number 8. Go Hoosiers. While Vanderbilt finds themselves at number 24, being one of 2 3-loss teams to currently be ranked. Good on you, boys. There are only 2 ranked matchups this upcoming weekend, with number 11 Alabama taking on number 14 LSU, and number 2 Georgia taking on number 16 Ole Miss. 10 teams have a shot this week to fall outside of bowl contention, which includes the Kansas Jayhawks, who have returned this season to the basement, where they belong, with us Trojans. Finally, in a news segment this week, I'm going to call it Fast Felonies. We take a look at athletes who are going just a bit too fast outside of the law. This week it involves former NASCAR driver and champion Kurt Busch. Earlier this year in August, Busch was pulled over by the police in North Carolina and was arrested on charges of DWI, careless and reckless driving, and speeding. Again. No, this is not the first time. On November 1st, Busch pled guilty to a criminal charge of driving while impaired, while other charges were dropped in exchange. Busch will be under unsupervised probation for the next year, with a 60-day suspended sentence hanging over his head if he fails. If you do not know anything about Busch, please do yourself a favor and look it up for yourself. It is entertaining to say the least, and also a return to form after years of sanity. Fine, I'll give you a little nugget. In 2015, Busch claimed that his girlfriend, who was charging him at the time on domestic assault charges, said she was a trained assassin who used her skills to cover up blood. Yep, this pit goes deep. Well, there you have it, everyone. Another week of racing and sports in the books. Champions are being or about to be crowned as the sports world heats up in the fall. Hope you all enjoy this episode of JABO. I'm your host, Brendan Bryan, and I'll see you all again next time.